Good evening, class. Thank you for coming today as we continue with our lectures. We want to thank God so much. God is unto us a strong tower of refuge. He defends us from the sight and assaults of the Satan and the evil spirits and the marauding spirits of this world. From nothing is hidden, and whom nothing is impossible. So we beseech God to defend us from evil associates, from enemies, and to confirm in us true and steadfast faith. We commit our bodies, we commit our souls into His hand. So it's important to acknowledge the presence of God and the presence of His Shekinah. In Hebrew, there is a prayer that they do every day in the morning. They say, Holy Michael to my right, Holy Gabriel to my left, Holy Raphael behind, Holy Uriel in front, and Shekinah, the glory of God above. It doesn't necessarily mean that we worship angels. No. Angels are malachim, they're just messengers. They are between us and God. So we don't worship them, but they are just messengers that are sent by God. So someone would think maybe if you say, Holy Michael to my right, maybe we are worshiping. No. We worship God. We don't worship angels. Okay, that's fine. So our topic today is going to be an interesting topic. I think everyone is aware of what's happening in the world today, in the world of technology. The world of technology. So I have decided to pick a very interesting topic called Bluetooth mechanism. How some people Bluetooth us. So the topic is Bluetooth mechanism. How people siphon our energy, positive energy. So don't pay your mindset with the negativism, be it in marriage, be it in friendship, even in business. Don't pay your device, don't pay your soul with negativism. First of all, do we want to change anyone? No. A story is told about a guy who grew up wanting to change the world. He thought to himself, I will change the world when I grow up. I will change the world. Now, as he grew up, he found it very difficult to change the world. Then he said, no, so I will try to change my continent. And then as he grew up and devised his stratagem to change the continent, he found it very difficult. He could not change his continent. Then he said, maybe if I try Sadak. He tried to change Sadak. He devised some strategies and some plans to change Sadak. It was very difficult again. Then he said, no, so I'll change my country. He did the same stratagems. He could not change his country. Then he said, maybe my city. He tried to change his city. It was also very impossible. Then he said, maybe if I try to change my village. Then he tried again. It was very impossible. Then he said, no, if this time I want to change my family. He could not do that. And then he said, no, the best thing is to change myself towards the world. We were created by God not to change anyone, but to change ourselves. To change ourselves will cause what we call tikkun olam. That's how you will heal the world, when you change yourself. Don't try to change anyone. So these lectures, we're not trying to change anyone. That's not the idea. The idea is to try to change, especially myself. So that's why I said I should upload this on YouTube, so that every time I go on YouTube, I remind myself my flaws and try to change them. Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to the business of the day. Bluetooth mechanism. Don't pay your soul, don't pay your mindset with negativism, be it in marriage, friendship, or even in business. Shlomo Amelech, King Solomon, prophesied it in Proverbs 22, verse 24, verse to 25. So it's Proverbs 22, verses 24 to 25. He says, don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people, or else you will learn to be like them, and then they will endanger your soul. So don't Bluetooth with negativism. What you will be doing, you'll be siphoning. You take what they have, or they'll take what you have. So we need to be very careful. When they do that, some people have capacity to mind control. They can control your mind in a negative way, or they can manipulate you in a negative way. They can brainwash you. If you pay yourself with some people, they can brainwash you and end up doing what they'll be doing. So it's a very interesting topic. Before that, before we delve deeper into this lecture, I like it so much. Like I told you that I like stories. I like parables. I like fables or folklore stories. A story is told about a student who went to the rabbi, to the Baal Shem Tov, and complained that his friend was bullying him. His friend was siphoning his energy in a negative way. But he can't dissociate. He said, I cannot dissociate with my friend, because he was the only friend he had, he grew up with. The rabbi said, the Baal Shem Tov said, suppose you were riding on a horse, or you're riding a horse, and you then discovered that all of a sudden there's a precipice, there's a steep or a cliff ahead of you when the horse is galloping. What would you do? The student said, I'll jump off drastically. And then the rabbi said, go and jump. Go and do just that. Go and jump away from such a negative friend. Go and jump. Because you, according to Shlomo Amelech, the verse that we opened, you are not doing anything, but you are killing your soul. You are killing your soul. But everything must start simple. Everything must start in the head. The problem is in relationships. How the law of relativity. Where did you get your friend? Where did you get that wife? Where did you get that boy? Where did you get that girl that you are befriending, or that you want to marry, or that you are married to? So that's where the problem emanates. Before you are being Bluetoothed. Let me give another parable. It's in the Talmud. It's Midrashi, but it was done by Yochanan ben Uziel. He said that one day the mouse wanted to marry the sun. So the mouse went to the sun to say, the mouse, mbeva in our language, beho in Hebrew. So wanted to marry the sun. So the mouse went to the sun. Say, sun, Zua, can you marry me? Like you give light, you are rich. Everywhere you go, you give people light. And I've heard about you, so I want to marry you. Then the sun said, no, you cannot marry me. I'm also junior to the clouds, because the clouds can overshadow me. So the best you can do is to go and consult. If you want to marry, the best for you will be the clouds. So go to the clouds. And maybe if you marry the clouds, your wish will be fulfilled. So the mouse went to the clouds and said to the clouds, Mr. Cloud, Mr. Cumulonimbus Cloud, Mr. Nimbus Threaters, I've heard that the son had said to me, I've heard it from the son and from my parents that you are greater than the sun. You can block the sunlight from reaching the earth. So the son said, you are greater than him. So can you marry me? Then the cumulonimbus cloud, the nimbus stratus cloud, said, I don't think it's possible. You cannot marry me because I'm also less powerful and I'm less influential than the wind, because the wind can blow me away. So I don't think I'm stronger than the wind. So the best is for you to go to the wind. So the mouse went to the wind and said to the wind, the wind, I went to the sun and I went to the clouds. They've referred me to you. So I want you to marry me because I want, a greater person, a greater and influential person. And the wind said, I don't think you got the right information. I think buildings are more influential. They are more powerful than me. They can even control me. Because when I'm blowing, if I come across buildings, they can stop me from blowing. So I don't think it's necessary for you to marry me. You can go and marry the buildings. Then the mouse went to the buildings. He said, building, I have been to the sun. I've traveled to the sun. I wanted to marry the sun. The sun said, you cannot marry me. Then the sun referred me to the cumulonimbus clouds, to the nimbus stratus clouds. The cloud said, no, you cannot marry me. Then I went to the clouds, referred me to the wind. And the wind said, you can't do that. And the wind referred me to you, the buildings. So, can you marry me? Then the buildings say to the mouse, I think we are lower than you, mice. If it comes to power, if it comes to authority. The mouse said, what are you saying? How can we be lower or lesser than you? The building said, yes. We buildings cannot marry you. But you have to go and marry your kind. Marry your kind. The advice from the building was that go and marry your kind. So the mouse said to the buildings, what's going on here? I want you to marry me. The building said, if you want a wife, go marry your kind. Because we buildings, we think we are lesser, we are lower than you in terms of influence, in terms of whatever. Then because the building had said to the mouse, because you can drill holes into us. You can drill. There are so many. If you look around this building, there are so many holes that you've drilled. So you can drill holes. So we are lower than you. So the only person you can marry is the mouse. So we are lower than you. So what are we saying? Why these parables? They teach that. These parables teach that we must marry our kind. Marry in the sense that not marry as we know it, marriage, but relationships. The law of relativity. Who do you relate with? Where are you siphoning your energy? Who are you Bluetoothing with? So that's very important. So that is called the psychic influence. Psychic, affecting or influencing a human mind to try to control people. People are in this world, they are dangerous, they want to control other people. Some for better and good reasons, some for negative reasons, some positive reasons. So psychic influence is one of the most interesting topics so far. And one of the easy to develop powers without which people can know or without much experience. Anyone can use this power positively or negatively with little effort once they start practicing it. So be very careful who you associate with. They use that psychic power to siphon you, especially negative people. So every one of us use this power in our daily lives, either consciously or unconsciously. And most of us influence others by meeting them and communicating with them directly without knowing. Your energy is being drained away from your positive energy. So psychic influence is a method of influencing just by using your mind from a distance. The influenced person would never come to know that you have used your psychic power to influence them and act naturally as if he or she is doing something that's good. If that person is using that negative energy, then you're in danger. So, like I said, psychic influence can be used for either good or bad. But it is strictly recommended that you should choose who to relate with, who to marry, who to befriend. This power can be used for anything, from negotiating to seduction. You see? So every day if we think of someone, we actually are projecting our psychic power to them. The person on the other side of the world can be affected by that thought. If it's negative, it's going to kill. That's why it's called lashon nara. Lashon nara, lashon, speak, the tongue. Lashon is the tongue. Nara, evil tongue. Evil inclination. So, in this class, we must remember that using your powers only one time is not enough. And you use it in a positive way to develop people. If you think good about people, not evil about them, because by affecting them. So psychic power, psychic influence. The world is influenced by so many things. Some are influenced by TV adverts. Some are not even wearing the clothes that they thought themselves to buy. They were influenced by a TV. So they're not themselves. From the shoes that they wear, it's not what they thought. They heard it from a TV. They heard it from a friend. To methodologies that they use, to the profession, to the jobs that they are doing. It was someone influencing them. But fortunately, in a positive way. And unfortunately, in a very negative way. So, why? Because negativism or negativity is contagious. If you are always in the company of people who obsess about trifles, you are more likely to suffer from constant attacks of negativity. Quite simply, no matter how positive a person you are, negative people can affect your life unless you take the right precaution. And the research, there are so many researches around this topic, and the research is shown that even a small amount of negativism, a small amount of negative brain can lead to a weakened immune system. If they siphon, if they pair their negative mindset with you, if they Bluetooth their negative mindset with you, they can lead to a weakened immune system, making you more prone to illness and even lead to a heart attack or a stroke. So negative attitudes can also affect your intelligence and ability to think. You see? According to Dr. Travis Bradbury, negativity comprises the effectiveness of the neurons in the hippocampus So it starts from there. There's another article published by the University of Notre Dame highlighting the effect of a person's social environment. Based on that research involving first-year students, those students who hung around the negative people were all negative, and they lost track of their lives. So if you hang around with people who are negatively oriented all the time, it's time to break the ties with those people. Positive people are better for improving your own mental state. So it's a very serious topic. It's a very, very serious topic. And we just hope that, I just pray that it can change me. Because negativism is it's suicidal. But how does this happen? In most cases, it happens on a one-on-one cult. One-on-one pairing yourself with this person who is negative. So this one-on-one cult is an intimate relationship where a negative person abuses their power to manipulate and exploit the other. E.g., a parent and a child, a teacher and a student, a therapist and a client, you name it, pastor and a worshiper, wife and husband. This chaotic relationship is more destructive because all the time the attention is directed towards only negative things. There's no happiness. You see? So a force is involved in such type of relationships. Force. But some of these are subtle. You cannot see. So, and when it's like that, it will end up in mind controlling. Because the person doing the manipulation is often considered a friend or a teacher. So the victims don't actually, trying to defend themselves. In fact, they think they are loyal to the pastor. They are loyal to the husband. They are loyal to the parent. Think that maybe what I'm being taught or what I'm being told is the right thing. They will say maybe this manipulator is their best interest in us, yet nothing. So this makes mind control as dangerous as danger itself. So that's how dangerous it is to partner, to go into a business with a negatively wired a colleague or associate. You see? There's a paper that was published in April 7, 2008, where a man had received a heart from a suicide victim. And this man who had received a heart from a suicide victim ended up marrying the widow of the deceased. You see, you need to be very careful with some of these things. So the story is about a man who received the heart of a person who committed suicide. Then, like I told you, married the donor's wife, then died in a similar way. So you know the story from the paper. It's about Terry Cottle, who committed suicide, and his heart was given to a man named Sonny Graham. Just want to be specific. So Mr. Graham later married the wife of Mr. Cottle, who had died, who had committed suicide. So 12 years after marrying the wife of the deceased, he also committed suicide. So there's nothing that one can do. There's nothing that we can do. If we siphon, if we use negative energy from negative people, from our negative environment, we end up in such situations. So this guy committed suicide because he had married the wife of a deceased who had also committed suicide. So that's negative energy. So he was given this negative energy. But this person had already died and was buried. 12 years after that, this guy committed suicide because of negative energy. So be very careful who you relate with. So I don't know how best God can help us. So how exactly do you rid yourself from Bluetooth siphoning or negativism and protect yourself from these harmful effects? Here are some proven methods. Say I've just select some methods. It's like usually I would like to say to people, I don't create these things to tell the people that I'm not a prophet or I'm not trying to prophesy anything. I'm not a prophet, and I'm not even I'm not a child of a prophet, and I'm not even closer to that. So this is just a research to share. So there are some ways that I did cherry pick to try to run away from negativism. And the first is to be in a position to say goodbye to such relationships. Don't wait until a toxic person in your life has brought you so far down that you forget who you are, what your surname is, what your name is. Don't wait. Just jump out of it. Like the Rebbe told the student, if you're riding a horse and a horse is approaching a precipice, a steep, a cliff, what do you do? Then the student said, I will jump off the horse. Just jump. Those who died, that man died after 12 years of using someone's negative energy. Oprah Winfrey herself advocates for this method. Surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher, not people who drain your energy. Life is simply too short to befriend with toxic individuals. Life is short. You can't wait for that. Find yourself a mentor who supports you. A mentor who often have a larger vision for you and who have a confidence in you. A mentor who can grow you. So, another important point is to set limits. Like Avram Avinu and Lot, they were fighting. And Abraham said, Lot, we can't continue this relationship. Choose which side you want to go. Even God, he said to Abraham went to God to pray, to daven. And God said to Avram Avinu, you want to be rich? Avram Avinu said, Abraham said to God, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy. Then God said, you cannot, unless you do away with Lot. Do away with Lot. And when he did that, Abraham was wealthier. So we have so many Lots in our lives. Do away with your Lot. Do away with negative energy. Do away with negativism. Do away with the source of negativism. Do away with the stressor. And so will be well. Do away with your Lot. Abraham told that. another point, you don't need to be validated. That's the problem that we have in the world. You are frustrated because you want people to validate you, to say you are this, what you've done is good. That's why we have stresses. That's why we live stressful situations, stressful lives. That's why we're in a depression. Because you want someone to validate you. My husband should validate me. What about if he doesn't? My wife should validate me. What about if she doesn't do that? We don't need an external validation. We don't need any external validation. All we need is support. So often in our lives, we search for external approval. That's the problem. Which is why we begin absorbing these people's energies, these people's negative energies. Because you went to them to consult. Because you want external approval. Then you consult them. Dr. Mash, can you help me? And this guy is negative. This guy is negative. He's giving you negative energy. You want to Bluetooth your mind, say this negative person with a PMA, with not PMA, NMA, negative mental attitude. What is that? We call these people energy vampires. Energy vampires. They suck, they drink, they siphon our energy. If you pair with them, even if someone is a temporal vampire going through a difficult time, and you try to counsel them, and you try to to convince them that life is good, the other side of life is good, if they don't just leave them. But the most dangerous is a permanent vampire, who is an inherent personality trait in him of being negative. That person will never change. And most energy vampires don't want to work on themselves. So what do you do when you're dealing with the negative, with a permanent energy vampire? Is to start walking away from this person. Start walking away from this guy. But some may say, I've paid myself. I've paid my Bluetooth with a negative husband or wife. How do I deal with the husband who is negative about everything? How do I deal with such a person? How do you deal with such a person? This I can refer to the story of Leah, the wife of Yahovah of Jacob. Leah was unloved, but she was overcoming. You know the story. You know the story of Jacob. Jacob leaves his family to find a wife in Padan Aram. You know the story. Let me just repeat it. He meets Rachel. Some would want to say he met or he meets Rachel, because the Bible is written in the present participle. So he meets Rachel, who, according to the Bible, had a lovely figure and was very beautiful. She was a Lulapalooza. She was attractive. She was a black Moa. So he falls in love with Rachel. And Laban was not happy with that relationship. So Laban said, in this locality, we don't marry our daughters, especially the younger one. When the elder daughter is there, we marry the elder daughter first, then the young daughter, or the young sister. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast on the marriage. But in the morning, Jacob discovered that it was Leah. So that the unloved, when she was unloved, it hurts. So it was a common thing in ancient times for there to be an unloved wife in the family. The Torah even makes provision for the son of the unloved wife. Something other cultures do even for now. it was very common to have many wives, and most of these ungenerated or unregistered wives. So, but today it's not allowed. It's not allowed. There's an earth-shattering verse in the Bible, Proverbs 30 verse 23. It says, the Bible says, the Bible and God, because the Bible and God are one. So the Bible says that the earth trembles over a married woman who is unloved. Proverbs 30 verse 32. It angers the Lord to see a woman abused or not loved by a husband, and then they are paid. So God was upset over Leah's situation, that he closed the womb of her sister Rachel. When he saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive. But Rachel remained childless for quite some time. So Leah rose from bitterness to victory. Leah is 3 sons, and she gives them names that highlight misery. The first one is Reuben. It's because the Lord has seen my misery, my many misery. Surely my husband will love me. That's the first son. Shimon, the second, because the Lord heard that I'm not loved. He gave me these 2. She gave birth to Levi. Now at my last, I thought the husband would love me or become attached to me because I have borne him 3 sons. That's what she thought. It happened in the Bible. So the lack of love from Yahovah to Leah had become her identity. She felt that if only she can get Jacob to love her, then she will be happy and fulfilled. And bearing one of a son in ancient times was very quintessential. So she converted it into her identity. Leah thinks this is my ticket to being loved. But it was not like that. Because it was not Leah. It was not Leah, and it's not you. It's not you. It's him. It's his fault. Leah was supported by God. So she had a revelation. At some point, it seems that Leah discovers her worth in God, not in Jacob. So we must discover our worth in the Lord. We must discover our worth in God, not in Jacob, or vice versa. Vice versa. But what is important? This applies. It applies in any situation. Like I've said in my introduction, be it in friendship, be it in marriage, be it in mentorship, be it in everything, be it in business. This siphoning is almost everywhere. So you need to be very careful who you relate with, who you Bluetooth your device with. You end up with nothing. They end up using you. Be very careful, and you have to up your spiritual gear. But I think now we need a student in this class. We need to start to think about societal evolution, some kind of a paradigm shift. When we are living in an abusive relationship, be it a mentor, a mentee relationship, student, teacher relationship, husband, wife relationship, we need some paradigm shift. There's another verse in the Bible, Hosea 2 verse 16. Hosea here alludes to the relationship between God and Israel, God and his people. So verse 16 says, and it shall be in that day, said the Lord, that you shall call me Ishi in Hebrew. You shall call me Ishi, meaning to say you shall call me husband. And not Bali, B-A-B-A-L-I. You will call me Ishi, husband, not Bali. So Hosea 2 verse 16. It's a paradigm shift where God is saying, you no longer call me Bali, but Ishi. You Bali. You're going to call me Ishi. Bali means master. Ishi means husband. We are no longer going to call me Bali, master, but you're going to call me Ishi, meaning husband. So at this point in the relationship between Hosea, let me explain a bit about the relationship between Hosea and his wife. She's calling Bali master. Master. So whatever she does for him is out of duty and fear. So Bali in Hebrew is really the most common word used for a husband in the Aramaic during the ancient period. Bali, master. And this is true in many cultures, Middle East and even Africa. Yet the Hebrew, before being influenced by paganism or by pagan cultures, were noted for their fair and equal treatment of women. Thus in Hebrew and Aramaic, we have two words of husband. One is Bali, B-A-A-B-A-A-L-I. And that term, Bali, is abusive. Master of a husband. When someone is Bali, is a master. Do what I tell you. We don't discuss. But the Jews now, the rabbis, said, no, we can no longer use that. We need to use Ishi, man, husband. So the word Ishi has many uses, like a friend, like a helper, like a companion, Ishi. And like Bali, where the many different usages are quite negative, like Bali, master. And Ishi in Hebrew is a husband who loves his wife. And Ishi is a friend who loves his friend. And Ishi is a pastor who loves his worshiper. And Ishi is a there are so many things. There's no that master and the Bali and the master and servant, the tongue and the rider relationship. So, but in this case, you have to understand that Hosea was speaking the words of God toward his people. Because his people, God's people, saw him as Bali in those days, as a master who is forcing things into them. Do this, I don't listen to you. So if you read this passage as a poem, tap into the emotion that it is being played out on God. So in this relationship, she was abused by the Bali until the Bali was now an issue. So it's very important that we move away from Baliism, from being a master to your wife, from being a master to your child, from being a master to your friend, from being a master to a co-worker. You're a manager, but your subordinates are slaves. When you arrive, they run away. To yeshiva, when you are there, there's no relationship. This is Baliism. The other one is a donkey, and you are the rider. Why are people afraid of you? Why are you not their friend? So even Isaiah 54 verse 5 says, For thy maker is thine husband. Thy maker is thy ishi. The Lord of hosts is your ishi, is your husband, is your friend. That's why Jesus came. That's why Jesus came. So, some other methods include some methodologies to try to improve yourself, to ward off negativism. Just surround yourself with uplifting people. Surround yourself with uplifting people. You can also listen to music. Music is one of the easiest ways to shift your energy quickly when you are infested with that negativism. Listen to music. So that's what we have today. Align yourself. Pair yourself with people with a positive mental attitude. Pair yourself with people who build you. Avoid negativism. So that is our topic today. Bluetoothing yourself with negative psychic influences. So we need to be thankful that this lecture was opening. It was earth shattering. So thank you so much for this time. For this, we really thank you for coming. There's nothing that you can say except to thank you for coming. See you in the next lectures as we try to understand ourselves better, as we try to improve ourselves, tikkun olam, as we try to change ourselves, not trying to change the world. We cannot change the world unless we change ourselves and defend ourselves from negativism. To repeat all, the most tried and tested stratagem or methodology to fight psychic influence, negative influence, is to pray to God, for God to control the minds of these negative people, to help us control. Once that is done, everything follows suit. God said to Avram Avinu, Avram Avinu, he said, my Lord, I'm here. He said, do away with Lot if you want to be rich. So in any, be it at workplaces, be it in clubs, find your lot and do away with that lot. You begin to prosper. You begin to live happily. Dissociate yourselves with these energy vampires. Thank you so much. Until me next time. Amen, amen, and amen.